Alright YouTubes, how are we all doing? I hope you're well. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, it's going to be like another video we've just done recently. We've got another Porsche in, another 718 Boxster. This is a Boxster S, this one. Lovely car it is. Yeah, Boxster S. It's got really good spec and really clean and tidy and mint. And the damage, funny enough, is pretty much the same as what we've done on the yellow one, if you've seen that video. It's just a little bit right in almost the same place that we've done on the yellow one, but this one's been hit up the top a little bit as well. So yeah, this one we're going to be doing pretty much the same. We're going to strip all this bumper off, strip it all down, take everything off of it, do these little repairs. This one's not PPF'd, and there's probably a few little stone chips, nothing major I can see at the moment, but I haven't had a proper look yet. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We'll have to colour the whole bumper on this, and I haven't checked the colour yet, so I don't know what the colour is. So yeah, good job we've done one recently, so we know how it all comes apart on this one. So yeah, we'll get it stripped off. I've had a comment from somebody that, saying about trying to show the jobs from start to finish. I'm trying to do different things that I can, you know, as much as I can to do different things, because obviously I'm doing the same thing because I'm painting cars in this channel. But I just try and mix it up. Some I'm going to do just as painting. I'm going to try different camera angles. I'm just going to keep trying different things, see if it works. So yeah, this one I'll try and show all of it: the strip, the repair, preparation, the paint, the refit, and the polishing. So that's what I'll try and show in this one, and try and keep it as short as possible. So that being said, we'll get this car up in the air and we'll start stripping it out.
Right then, YouTubes, another voiceover on this one. So yeah, show some of the stripping on this. Yeah, I'm not sure whether to show stripping on the jobs, maybe maybe on some of them, but I don't know. Do you find it boring watching the stripping? Stripping's only really good, I think, on a video where you need to know about something coming off. It's hard to edit all the stripping in, but I'm showing everything on this video, so yeah. They're fairly straightforward, these Porsches, to take apart. Front bumpers, they look quite complicated. There's a lot of fixings, but they're so familiar, you know, with with Volkswagens, that the way they come apart is sort of really familiar. If you took Volkswagen bumpers and stuff off, fixings all the same. They use majority of the same fixings across the whole bumper. There's a variation with the ones underneath that bumper to the ones on the side. Yeah, all pretty much the same. And then yeah, Reese is taking apart all the pieces off the bumper. It's really good at it. He's picked it up so quickly and really methodical with it. Yeah, he's really good at it. He's got strong hands where he's young, strong arms. And prizing away all them plastic parts, sometimes it's quite a strain on your hands sometimes to get it all apart. But yeah, really pleased with how he's come on with stripping and fitting. Picked it up really easy. He really enjoys the stripping and fitting as well. I'd like to get him on the paintwork, but he's not showing any interest in it, and I'm not going to force him to do it. He's doing bits of priming, and he's picked that up pretty quick. You know, I'd like him to be able to do a bit of paint, maybe some smaller stuff, smart repairs and that, but he's not coming to me for it, so I'm not going to push him. He's doing well with the rest of it, but he may come over to it, who knows. So yeah, yeah, as you can see, it's quite a task getting all these grills and stuff out of bumpers, and prizing everything out and not breaking anything. Yeah, he's already done one of these anyway, so he knows how it all goes. So leave it to him. big department. So yeah, just prepping it now. Reese done all the prep and the repair. So he's just prepping the damage to repair it. So he sanded that out with 240 grit. Try and keep it fine on plastics if we can. That filler had to go into it anyway, so yeah. Just prepped all that out with 240 grit. Just rubbing some edges out and stuff to key it up for some filler. And yeah, I think he got it in one skim. Yeah, he did. So that's a Rage Ultra, that filler he's using in that. Really good filler. You sort of have to apply it in layers though, which is a bit different. It is quite runny, but you can feel fairly deep with it. So it's sort of a mixture of both really. The Rage Ultra. You can feel deep and really small stuff, and yeah, you just got to layer it up. It's quite slick it is. So yeah, he's rubbing that out with 220 grit, 3M Cubitron 220 grit. And his little repairs are coming out really neat as well. He's like the bumper man for me. He does all the bumpers, near enough, prepping and repairs. I don't know about yourselves, but I don't enjoy doing bumpers. I'd say bumpers are probably the least profitable part of a car in this industry in paintwork. Especially, you know, when you take them off, strip them all down, can't charge too much for them. There is a limit to what you can charge on a bumper. You always have to deal with other stuff like stone chips and stuff, especially on front bumpers. And they use quite a bit of materials as well. Especially, you know, if you're 3-stage pearl ones and if you've got to prime them all over, they're a lot of work bumpers, and they're the least profitable panel on a car, I reckon, in this job in paintwork. So he's just sanded around that repair with 240 grit, and now he's just prepping the rest of the bumper with 500 grit with a soft pad, interface pad on, and then he will go round and do any chips that he can see with just some fine filler with some dolphin glaze, and then obviously keel the edges. The bits you can't get in with DA, I sort of say to him, try not to get in everywhere with DA, and try to minimise the amount of breakthroughs on edges, because you always get black plastic showing through on bumpers. There's not a massive amount of paint on bumpers from the factory, I don't think. Not left on the cars, definitely less. And then just grey scotch all the edges. That's it, all prepped then.
Right then, YouTubes, that's the Porsche bumper all prepped, ready for a little bit of primer. It's really not very stone chipped at all. There's the odd one here and there. So I'm not going to prime this bumper all over. I'm going to spot prime the repaired areas, and this is probably the most chippy part. So I'm just going to prime this bottom lip, and that's it, primer wise. And then when we prep it up, I'll give it a final check all over, and if there's going to be the odd little chip here and there, and then I just address them with a little bit of dolphin glaze, fine filler. That'd be fine for that. And we're doing all the gloss black trims on this now. So we spoke to the customer, and while it's all off, there was a little bit of damage on this one that he didn't know about. So we're just going to do all the gloss black, so it'll look all nice and fresh. All the trims painted and the bumper cover. So this one, I'm just going to squirt a little bit of Mipa Waterbase primer on that. It's all finished off in 320, so is the repair on the bumper. But I want white on the bumper, and I don't really want to put white on a black trim part. Black will cover white, no problem, it's not an issue with that. It's just if you get a stone chip on it, then you've got bright white showing through. You've got to get a stone chip and it's a darker primer under it. It doesn't show up as much. That's just my thinking anyway. So yeah, the Mipa water primer is like a dark grey, so it's a bit long-winded to be mixing up a thimble full of 2-pack primer in dark grey or black and white and keep swapping it over. it's a bit excessive even for me. So yeah, so that'd be a little bit of Mipa water-based primer on there, just 2 coats, and Mipa 2K, so Mipa 4+1 primer will go on that, but they've got a few different options on mixing ratios. So I'm going to do what they call the compact filler, which is a bit of a thinner, smoother 2K primer. It's just basically got more thinners in it on that mixing ratio. So yeah, it'd be 3 coats on that and a couple of coats on the trim. So I'll get the primer mixed up and I'll squirt a bit on there.
We'll just show a couple of coats of this going on, that compact filler like I said. Do 3 coats of that. Don't load it on that compact filler because it's got more thinners in it than the high build mixing ratio. I put it on with a 1.4 my wet and wet gun as well, so it doesn't put a big load on there. And yeah, that Mipa water-based primer that I've just put on the trim, it's really handy little primer. It's ready for use. I'll just keep it in a PPS pot, and like you can see, you just dry it out like you dry out water-based base coat. It does want a bit of heat really afterwards. I've found it can be a little bit sticky, but you dry one coat out, it dries right through with a blower like you would with water-based base coat, and then just another coat on there. You don't need more than 2 coats of that water-based primer on there. You will get out issues, and it's great for like breakthroughs where if you've got problem coatings that may react with 2-pack primer or solvents. It's a good sealer. It's really good sealer. It's sealing in old coatings. It's got a really good build on it. Just got to be careful, you can't water-based to grease it, and it does want a little bit of a lamp really just to cure it through, but it's great for that, and it's really good for bare metal and bare aluminium. If I've got a repair that's got filler work and there may be quite a bit of bare metal around it, I'll puff just one little coat of that on there first, just knock it off a little bit, and then put my 2-pack primer over the top of it. It's a really handy primer to have, that 1K water-based primer with Mipa.
Right YouTubes, that's the Porsche bumper all prepped and ready to spray now. So yeah, give you a quick look. Yeah, it's all rubbed down with 500 grit, finished off in 500 grit. There was a couple of chips, couldn't really find many at all, so they've been addressed with a little bit of dolphin glaze. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet and wet this bumper with white Mipa 4+1, just so it's a nice white even coat over all of it. The base coat hasn't got to do so much hard work then coverage wise, obviously with the little black breakthroughs that you get, which are sometimes hard to avoid on edges on plastic. So coat of white wet and wet on that, and then these are all prepped again the same, finished off in 500 grit. And this is just going to be, I use Super Black it's called, which is the blackest tinter on the scheme, so they'll be done in that base coat as well, and clear coat. So yeah, Super Black on them. The colour on this Porsche bumper is C9A actually. It's Volkswagen colour code, but the mixes are different on the Porsche. There's a few shades of it. We've checked on the colour chips. They all look pretty close, to be honest with you, but the car just looked a little bit redder, and there was a redder, lighter plus formula on the system that never had a colour chip, so I've spectroed it, and that wasn't the first choice, but that's the way it needed to go, so I've gone with that shade and just done a bit of a correction on it. But I'm going to put that on there, and I'll spray it out as well at the same time and just check it against the car before I lacquer it, but I'm pretty confident it'll be all right. So yeah, white wet and wet on that first, and then I'll get the black on the other parts, and then shove them at the back, get this nearer the extractor, get the white base coat on that, and then clear coat it all together. So yeah, always put the wet and wet on first, mix that first, and then while that's drying I'll mix my colour up then, so it gives me a bit of time for the wet and wet to go off. So guns I use on this would be, for the wet on wet, it'd be a 1500B, Satajet 1500B RP with a 1.4 setup on that, and it'd be full fan, full fluid, and 2.2 bar I'd put the wet on wet on at. And then the white base coat would be my X5500 with a 1.2i HVLP, and then the black trims I'm going to do with my 4400B mini jet RP. That's got a 1.2 on that. And then the clear coat I'm going to put on with I'm not sure actually. I'm going to put the clear coat on with my 1.20 setup RP. Yeah, that's what I'm going to put on with. And the clear coat I'm going to put on this is Mipa CX2. So that's it. I'll get all the paints mixed and we'll get some paint on it.
Right, so yeah, it's all prepped. I didn't show any of the preparation primer. It was only that little bit of primer to knock off. So it'd have been the usual standard what I normally do. A bit of a block with 320 grit, and then D8 off with 500 grit, and hand pad with 500 grit. And obviously I'm wetting this bumper as well, just to keep it all white. So yeah, and that was the same with the trim as well. Just took the top off with some 320 grit, and then finished it off in 500 grit. So yeah, just changing the temperature in the booth now, putting the burner on. Yeah, showing a bit of a different camera angle on this one. I have bought a tripod. I've been doing this for about 8 months now, and I've only just bought a decent tripod to mount the camera on. I've been using like a magnetic one on the spray booth walls. So I'm going to try and mix it up with the camera angles. It's not the best putting it on the wall, but yeah, this video I'm showing both camera angles, and I'm going to try and do that on other videos as well. Show sort of, depends on the size of the job if I can get around. So yeah, bit of a different camera angle on this job painting, and yeah, hopefully with my new tripod I can show some better camera angles and move it around in the booth, depending on what space I've got really. That's the thing. With my booth I'm limited on space, so if I've got to get a tripod around it, I might struggle a little bit. So yeah, the wet and wet's be 4+1 like I said before, in white, and then yeah, just put one wet coat on there. Try and get it, you know, nice wet finish on there with a wet on wet, obviously to keep it as smooth as possible. Yeah, when I first started using this as a wet on wet and the Mipa F37 wet on wet, I was being a bit overcautious with it, and I wasn't putting it on wet enough, and it was yeah, it was just leaving a rougher finish in the wet on wet, and then obviously that was affecting my base coat and my clear coat, and yeah, the jobs, wet on wet jobs, I wasn't getting the finish that I wanted. It was all drawn in and sinking into the texture, so just try and get it on there really wet, and when that dries out it's smooth as it can be really. Probably is some smoother wet on wets out there, but I think the key with most of them is one coat, get it on there wet. Yeah, so while that wet and wet's curing, at the same time just swap them over, get that over there, over at the front of the booth, and let that carry on curing, and I can get the black on this then, and then go and mix my white up for the bumper. So the usual standard application with Mipa, black obviously covers really well, just a light coat over it, like a half coat, dry that out, and double coat, and obviously it won't need no effect coat or drop coat, being a straight colour. Yeah, it's I think I said it's super black is cool, which is the blackest tinter basically on the system. just drying it out with that A&I. I seem to be using that A&I blower more and more. The trouble I have now in the warmer months is I have the opposite. I can't get the heat out of the booth. So if I turn the burner on, where you can see obviously the front of my booth is, you know, it's exposed to the outside, and in the afternoon the sun comes across that way and shines through the booth and warms up the garage that's in the booth. And if I introduce any heat, even on say like a day that's quite warm, like 22, 23 degrees outside, my booth's 30 inside and rising, and as soon as I put any heat in there, which, you know, I want warm air to dry base coat, and I put it on a little bake cycle at 40, 45 and dry the base coat, I cannot get that heat out of the booth. It just won't go. So that A&I is becoming handy for that, because it will just warm up, make the air that goes through it, if you put it on the self-heating setting, it will just warm the air more than what's in there. So, you know, I haven't got to introduce any heat into the booth, but I can still get a bit more warmer air coming through that blowgun. So yeah, it's really good for that. It is really good for that. It does require quite a lot of pressure though. That it's 5 bar minimum. So yeah, it does make the compressor work a bit harder. But if you put it on the hot, you know, the warmest setting on that A&I blower, can't do a large area with it on the highest heat setting, but it definitely warms the air up. It's really good. And then the medium setting, you can do a bit of a larger area with it, and it still warms the air up more than what the air temperature is. So yeah, it's a handy little blowgun. So yeah, we're on the base coat now. I forgot to show the half coat. So it's a normal half coat and then a double coat. Obviously being white already, it's going to cover really well. I've already done the half coat. Not going back to edit that in now, just realised that. So yeah, it's half coat, and this will be the double coat of base coat going on there. Like I said before, every section I paint, I double coat as I go, instead of doing one coat over all of it and then come like double heading back over it all again. I just, yeah, double header each section at a time, and the second pass is not as wet as the first pass. I sort of lift away a little bit, and yeah, it's always pretty much covered from doing that. Like I said, the Mipa reps in the UK don't recommend to do it that way, even though it is written on the data sheet that way. It's because of our climate, really. I think in the winter months, especially, you know, when we have a lot of rain and damp air, they just have people have had issues with it. It is quite a sensitive base coat if it's not dried out properly. It's not forgiving. It does need to be dried properly. That's why they want you to do it in single coats, because it affects the clear coat. You can have delamination issues with the base coat not dried properly later on, and yeah, delamination where the clear coat comes off and the base coat doesn't bond to it, and gloss drop. I had a couple of gloss drop jobs when I first started using the system, but I wasn't drying it out right. I was using the wrong dryers, really. I was using those blade ones. They were skinning it over, but now I've got that A&I and a Satajet blow dry, and I've got a procedure now. I haven't had any issues with it. Dries out fine. Doing the double coat, I do it winter and summer. And there is an accelerator. You can put a hardener in this base coat as well, which they recommend for, you know, your 3-stage pearls, to put in the first application, hardener, so it guarantees it cures in case it hasn't cured properly in your painting process. And they've got an accelerator as well, which is a solvent. You can do half and half with the water, or you can replace all the water with solvent, and it speeds up the drying for definite. Excuse me. Yeah, so it's quite versatile having a solvent accelerator to go in there. and having a hardener to go in there as well. And as well, with the hardener in the base coat, you don't have to clear coat it either. So if you had like new bonnets that have got the matte colour underneath, you can do that in base coat and use the hardener in it, and it's hard enough. It can be left exposed without any clear coat on there, which is another handy thing for engine bay colours and that. Yeah, having a hardener in the base coat, that really works. I've never used a water-based base coat in any other system that has a hardener with it and a solvent accelerator. So there's a couple of different things that Mipa base coat offers, maybe compared to some other base coats out there. So mixing the clear coat now. Mipa CX2 again on this one, and yeah, using my my X5500 with the 1.20 setup. So bit of a heavier gun, bit of a wetter spot in the middle of the fan, which I find better for bumpers, for getting in your edges, and gives a little bit of a chunkier orange peel, to be fair, the O setup. So yeah, different camera angle on this one again for the first coat of clear coat. Putting a fairly wettish coat down for the first coat. Make sure it's all covered and closed over the base coat, so there's no like little holes poking through on the base coat. And I do wind the fluid in on the O, because it can be a heavy gun. It's got, you can see there, it's got fairly old big spray pattern on it and fan size, and it does chuck out the material, the O setups. Even as a 1.2, it chucks it out. It's not as economical, I found, with the CC gun, but yeah, I do like it. I do like the O. I'm used to the O. It's always, you know, it's like the normal traditional SATA setup, which I'm used to. So yeah, the CC and the eye patterns are a bit newer to me, so I do like the O. So yeah, first coat of base coat going on. Yeah, just making sure it's all covered. Probably would have been better off with a mini jet on these small parts. Probably chucking more into the air than I am onto the parts themselves, but yeah, the second coat now. So yeah, I'm not sure if that, yeah, would be half a turn on the fluid control, and yeah, 2 bar, well, 1.9 bar it would say on the gauge when I pull the trigger for the air, but when I do full trigger it normally says 2. So you know, when you're just looking at the pressure, it's just on the air setting on the trigger. Yeah, just try and lay down a nice wet coat without all falling off on the edges. But yeah, like I said before, I'm really getting on well with this Mipa CX2 now. I was using the CX4 as you know, my quicker drying. I want to use the quick drying on the bumpers really, because there's a lot of handling that goes on with them afterwards, you know, with refitting them all back up. I just want the paint to be harder on bumpers, so I've always used, since I've had this system, CC9 I've used, you know, I use on the cars and the nicer jobs and jobs that I don't require faster drying. But bumpers, I've always been putting CX4 on bumpers, just so it can, you know, I can cure it quicker, and it's harder, sort of minimises the risk of marking it when we go to fit it all back together. So yeah, I was always using CX4 before, but this is cheaper, this CX2, and I think the results better. I'd probably say the CX4 may have a bit of better gloss to it, but it's so minimal. No one would ever really notice it. But yeah, the CX2 is working really well for us at the minute, and it's at a good price point as well. It is a really good price. But yeah, if you're sort of down this way in the southwest, all my paint supplies, everything I use on the channel, everything I use material wise, it's all from Paint Services in Cirencester. And yeah, be another shout out to Mark. He's a great guy, and he really looks after us. I'm probably one of the smallest spenders that they have in their branch, but he really looks after us. And yeah, so another shout out to Mark at Paint Services. If you're in this neck of the woods, then yeah, I definitely recommend using them. And yeah, they've got branches elsewhere as well, Reading and Oxford, Cheltenham, I think, as well. But yeah, we're coming to the end of the clear coat now on this. Yeah, I think I've mentioned before, I'm trying to minimise my wastage, and I can see and I remember now that I was there was barely any clear coat left in that pot, so I'm like half triggering it, going really close, just trying to get enough on there without having to go and mix some more up. That's why I'm sort of teetering on the edge of yeah, trying to minimise the amount of clear coat coming out of the gun there, because I don't want to go and have to mix up a thimble full just to finish them parts off. But yeah, I just about done it again, which is another satisfying. You can see I'm just half triggering that, just putting it on as close and lightly as possible so I don't run out. And yeah, I used every drop, I think, on that job again, which was really satisfying. So here's the end results anyway. So yeah, coming to the end now. This is a refit. We didn't film all the trims and everything going back in. Probably find that a bit boring to watch that. There's normally quite a bit of swearing going on when all the trims and stuff going back in the bumper by Reese. So yeah, all fitted out back on okay. And yeah, just clipping that little side repeater in it. Yeah, we did have a little bit of an issue on the refit on this job. Guy went away. We checked it. Well, we thought we checked it. Didn't realise those front lights were actually indicators. I thought they were daytime running lights. And yeah, we forgot to plug them in. But lucky enough, we could get our hands in there, plug them in. All the lume and everything was in, but we didn't put the plugs on the indicators on the front, which was a bit embarrassing. But so yeah, just give a few little nibs here and there with 2000 grit wet and dry, and then little 3-inch DA with 3000 grit just to refine them scratches. There's a few little nibs here and there. And yeah, polish I'm using on this, so that's a Roops rotary polisher with a Roops rotary head. on there. They're coarse head, and I'm using 3M polishers on this one. Like I said, I've got bits and bobs of all sorts material wise, and I do normally most of the time use Kosh Chemie heavy cut, medium cut, and micro cut. But yeah, you know, there's more than half a bottle of the 3M green top. That's a 3M sort of heavy cut, I suppose they call it. The green one, really good actually. I think the 3M is better for fresh paint, and the Kosh Chemie is probably more orientated towards the detailing of original paint than flat and polishing, you know, fresh paint in the body shop. Gets some sanding marks out really well. The 3M compound, the green top one, but it does want refining after, because it can dull off a little bit on darker colours, where it's such a coarse compound. And then yeah, just finishing off with a medium cut. That's a 3M again, with dual action. Just whipping over it all with that, just to bring the gloss up a little bit more. And yeah, not really going to see holograms in white. You might in certain lights, but yeah, do the same procedure on every job with a flat and polishing D-nib, and then a 2-stage polish, one with rotary, and then refining with a dual action, and a medium cut and a micro cut. And then yeah, like bumpers, I sometimes go round with a bit of medium cut by hand in little areas so I can't get the buff, just to get any handprints off and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it. It's all finished. Job done. So yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Right then, YouTubes. That's the Porsche Boxster S, all fitted up, polished and finished. So I'll give you a quick look. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how it come out. All the finish looks pretty decent. It looks really nice having all the gloss black trims done with it. So everything's been painted on the front, and yeah, quite often, you know, you'll have different coloured trims and stuff on a bumper, and I give people the option when we paint bumpers for people if we're taking them off and stripping them down, but people quite often don't want to pay the extra, which is understandable. And then when I fit it all back together and look at it, it's just a bit of a letdown. You go to all that effort, and then you still got all stone chips on your trims and stuff, but it can get expensive, can't it, having, you know, where do you stop sometimes. But yeah, I'm glad the guy went for it, having them done. I think it just makes the whole job look a lot better. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the colours. I was a little bit concerned with it. There was quite a few shades of this. It's a C9A pure white, sorry, not candy white, pure white. C9A is a Volkswagen code, but they are different mixes. So yeah, even though they share the same code and same colour name, they're different formulas. So yeah, this seems quite a bit whiter, this one, than the Volkswagens. But yeah, there was a few shades of it, and I'd done a recalculation on it. Was a redder, lighter plus shade, because the colour chips we had, the car just looked a little bit redder. So yeah, recalculated it, and yeah, pleased with that. Edge to edge can always be a concern, especially on these Porsches. You do the front of these Porsches, the bumper's like a big nose cone, and you've got, you know, all at the same angle, panels edge to edge, and you have a slight discrepancy in the colour on the bumpers on these Porsches. It can look well off because you've got all the bonnet and everything looking all at the same angle. But yeah, last thing I want to be doing is blending the front end for that front bumper. But yeah, it's all good. Pleased with it. So there we go. That's it. Right, well anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks a lot for watching. Really appreciate everybody watching, and please like, share and subscribe and all that good stuff, and we'll see you again in the next one. Look after yourselves. Cheers.